Hi everybody, Dr. Steve Greene here from Make the Grade, and I am honored to be here with Josh Hesney, a recent graduate of Acadia University. He's got a master's degree in teaching, specializes in English and writing, and he's going to tell us today about some techniques and some tips how to write a great essay. So how you doing, Josh?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It is our honor here, and we are excited to learn about your vast knowledge in this field. So let's get right into it. 3 tips for writing a great essay, right? So where do we begin?
All right. Well, obviously there are many things you can do to write a great essay. I'm going to give you 3 of the major things that can really help you. What you don't want to do
It doesn't look like a happy person here.
look like this woman, right?
Oh my gosh, look at her.
She's stressed out. She's disheveled. She's overwhelmed. If you plan your work, especially with these 3 tips in mind, you can avoid all of that.
All right. So this looks like it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and the papers due at 8, right?
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's been there.
All right. So here we go. So what should you plan? Tell us about a good plan here.
All right. So the main 3 things that you can do to help writing any essay of any kind is to generate interest, transition, and revise.
Okay. Generate, transition, revise. Got it. So let's talk about generating interest. I assume you mean for the reader. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
For the reader and for yourself, right? Because you're the one writing this, and if you're looking down, you're thinking, man, this is pretty boring. I'm not enjoying this. Chances are your reader's going to feel the same way. So write about something that you can be interested in, that you can get excited about, and chances are your reader will feel the same way.
Got it. I mean, it would beg the question a little bit. What if the assignment is the assignment? If I am in a history class and I have to write about Theodore Roosevelt, so is there any particular tips on how to make something more interesting, or is it just a matter of being more creative?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a part of it, right? You're not going to get a topic to write about that is so one-dimensional that you can't find something interesting about it. So you have to find what appeals to you, highlight that, and yes, get creative in the way that you write about it, the way that you analyze, and the way that you let your voice come through in your writing. And this starts with the title. So you really want to have an interesting title. If you're writing about Theodore Roosevelt, for example, and your title is Theodore Roosevelt, I think your teacher and your audience will see that you can do a little bit better than that.
So the title will lead you into your introduction, I assume. Whoops. We're busy. Keep going. Keep going.
Sure.
Yeah. There we go. This is real time, folks. So the title's going to lead us into the introduction. Then what?
All right. So in the introduction, you're going to want to start with some background info.
Okay.
Especially true in college essays. Give the necessary information that your reader will need to understand the rest of your essay. So it should whittle down from general to specific, and where it gets most specific is the thesis at the end of your introduction. And that is what leads into your body.
Because the thesis is really the core of the whole thing.
Right, it's the argument that you'll be making in the rest of the essay.
So, number 1, we got to generate interest. Let's talk about this a little bit. Your voice. Okay, so everybody has their own writing style. So how do we help to bring this out? Or how do we help to nurture a good writing voice?
Absolutely. People are often concerned about the formalities and being grammatically correct. And while that is important, if that's all you're worried about, then your writing can tend to seem a little bit boring. So you know what you sound like in conversation. You know how you write.
Mm-hmm.
Try to harness that and try to capture your own voice in your writing and write not in a completely conversational tone, but in such a way that people recognize that it is you who is writing this.
Got it. Sure. So it's about letting your personality come through a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to generate interest. And then what? So number 1 is interest. Number 2, you're telling me, is good transition. So let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Often transitions are overlooked. You'll think, okay, I'm done with this paragraph. Let's move on to the next one. It looks a lot better if you can find a way to connect them. And if you have a connected argument throughout your entire essay, it looks like an organized argument, and it looks like you put a lot of planning into your essay, and it is sure to impress anyone who's reading it.
It's like the old adage in teaching, plan your work, work your plan.
Exactly.
So the goal, as you say here, is a seamless flow of information, and I would agree with that myself. tell us what else would work here. You say here, so I don't want to say first. My first example is blah, blah, blah. My second example is. What would you suggest here?
Right. So there are much better words out there than just first, second, next, thirdly, and so on. Try to avoid the numbers. It comes off as bullet points. So maybe you could say moreover, furthermore, in contrast. There's a myriad of phrases that you can use that sound much better and more professional.
Okay.
And it's not all just about the transition words, right? The words are good, but as long as you can connect one idea to the next, however you want to do that, that's a transition.
Now, would this be true? A lot of college essays, you're limited to 400 or 500 words. It's a little bit of a different challenge than, say, writing a 10-page term paper. But would this apply equally in both of these cases?
I would say so, because even if you're just writing one paragraph, let's say, right, you want to connect the first sentence to the second, to the third, and so on and so forth. You don't want to look like you're just throwing these in there randomly. So you always want to have a flow of ideas that makes sense and has direction.
Got it. Well, this is great. So you're going to suggest to start by making an outline. That's kind of a pre-write, I presume.
Yeah, in any situation, I think it's best to make an outline first.
Okay. And what would happen from there?
So from there, you'll include the transitions, you'll include your thesis, you'll include some evidence that you want to use, and you can kind of figure out exactly what you want to write before you even write, right? So, if you just try to sit down and write a perfect essay, it's not going to work. No one can be expected to write a perfect essay on the first try, and it takes time. So sometimes you have to take a break and come back and, clear your mind and get some new ideas.
Okay. So that's all part of this. So this would lead us into your third tip, which is revision, right? So presuming the first draft is close but not quite, and we're going to come back and revise. So let's just talk about this for a second. Proofreading is obviously important. Why do you recommend having other people look at your essay as well?
Well, I've written countless essays by now, and I try to revise myself sometimes, and it never works. There's always things that you overlook because you're the one that wrote it. And, you'll look at a sentence 10 times and it'll read correctly to you because you know what it's supposed to say. But
I know sometimes I've written things and I change it, and then it comes back and it's the same as the first one.
Exactly. So you really need some fresh perspectives.
So what you're saying is it's good to get an expert third-party opinion, and that would cover across the grammar side, the spelling side, but also the idea, maybe even your voice.
Yeah, it's good to have someone else who maybe even doesn't know how you usually come off in writing or when speaking to see how it does sound. Does it sound professional? Does it make sense? Does it flow? Is it creative? It's really good to get outside perspectives.
Right. Well, I agree with you on there, and that's so. Let's talk a little bit more. We're almost wrapping up here, but so here's some specific tips that you suggest on revisions, right? So why don't you just run us through these briefly, and then we're going to come into a wrap up here. So go ahead.
Sure. A lot of times, writers think that to sound smart, we should use some big words, right? Often you can overly complicate a sentence to the point that it's even more difficult for the reader to understand what you're saying. So, rule of thumb, if you can say something in fewer words, then do it. It tends to be more concise, a little more clear. And, if you can say something in a simpler way, instead of using a big word that'll send someone running to the dictionary, if you can say it in language that everyone will understand, then that's even better.
So brevity is the key to erudition here.
It absolutely is.
You like those good words there, huh?
Yeah.
There you go.
Right, I bet no one knew what that meant, so don't do that in your essay.
So that's why we got to come here and learn it. Is it really, what's more important? Grammatical, obviously grammar and spelling is correct, but how important is the message and the voice and the addressing? If I have to write an essay about, say, World War II, obviously I need to discuss topically what's going on with World War II. So is there a balance, or what's your viewpoint on the technical side of the writing versus the content side of the writing, and then your voice? You kind of have this triumvirate of things that you're concerned about. Here we're showing some of the technical pieces of it. So maybe talk about this for a second.
Sure. In the many essays that I've graded and read through over the years, I find that this is one of the most common mistakes where you combine verb forms in a sentence. And this is just one of many that you want to look out for. But if someone were to say, I like to run, playing sports, and exercise,
Yeah,
right?
parallelism, bad
It
parallelism.
does not work. So you would maybe say, I like
So
to run,
this
to
is
play
just a
sports,
common
and to
grammatical
exercise.
error here. Exactly. So the first example here is more of just poor grammar.
Correct.
Now the second example you're given is more stylistic, right?
Right.
So tell me why that's important.
Okay, so in your conclusion, right, this should be really bringing it home. This should be hitting your point home to the reader, and that's where the content and the voice really come through, and it's, in my opinion, more important than the technicalities of the essay.
Okay.
Because if your essay describes 3 major points, let's call them A, B, and C, your conclusion should not simply repeat them. It should recall those ideas to the reader in order to say D, which will be the bigger picture, right? This is the point that you're proving, and you have to show the reader why it was important to read the rest of your essay.
Right. Now, I know some people out there thinking, and I mean, let's just address this quickly. Is this just as true in a college essay as it would be in a thing you'd write in an AP class for school, as it would be in freshman English, as it would be in history? Is this just universal advice that you would give anybody who's writing?
Definitely. That's why I chose these 3 tips, because they
Right.
really apply across the board in any kind of writing, especially essays. But you're going to encounter situations where you can use these 3 tips all the time.
Exactly. I mean, I'm more of a math and science and test prep guy, but I get a lot of people that have lab reports. And sometimes writing science content is difficult just because you really have to stick to facts. And some people can't do that very well. So let's bring it all home here. We've got 3 topics we've discussed: interest, transition, and revision. Anything you want to add to the discussion at this point?
I think we pretty much covered everything, but just to reiterate, right? When generating interest, you want to choose your topic wisely. And even if the overall topic is assigned to you, choose which parts of that you want to highlight when writing, and make sure it's something that's interesting to you and to your reader.
And not building up to your thesis. Sure.
Right.
Okay. Got
So
that.
from your thesis, right, you want to transition into the rest of your paper and make sure ideas are connected.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have that body down and the conclusion, which brings it all home, you want to look it over, proofread it once, twice, give it to someone else, let them look at it, give it to yet someone else, and make sure you get multiple perspectives on your writing.
Beautiful. And this is something that we can provide for people, which we're happy to do. So let's talk about what's next. How can people reach you or reach over here? They can reach Make the Grade through my website or through the phone number, which we'll show in a second. Here's some things that we're going to offer. We're going to offer a complimentary writing analysis. So what would that involve really quickly? Somebody would bring us a paper or bring you a paper, and what would we do with it?
Right. We could help with the organization and structure. We could definitely proofread it for any typos, grammatical errors, and we could potentially find a way to rework it if it's not quite what you wanted. We can find a way to make it exactly what it needs to be.
Beautiful. So you've put together a college essay. We'll call it a cheat sheet, but a guideline to the perfect college essay. Beautiful. What else are we going to offer people?
We can help you plan out your college essay timeline. So, I'm sure for a lot of you applying to college, it's very stressful and it can be overwhelming when you have 10, 20 essays to write. We can help you manage that and do it in a reasonable manner.
Right. So, I mean, those of us sitting in the room who went to college 32 years ago aren't really on that. You're a little more recent, but
A little bit.
there is a window. Generally, the college essay season is August, September, October, and November. And you don't want to be sitting there white-knuckled worrying about your essay when your deadline's the next morning. So we encourage people, let's think ahead. Let's plan ahead. Just like you plan an essay, you want to plan your writing, right? So we can schedule analyses. And this is what we can do for you. We can help you improve your grades. And it isn't just English, which is the obvious course, or history. Anything that involves writing. Also, essays are going to help you get into the right school. This will flow right through the test prep. SAT, ACT both contain essays at the moment. Those who stand out with great essays tend to get accepted into colleges more. Writing is critical in any career. We all know that. Anything else you want to add here?
I think that pretty much sums it up. If you would like to know more, feel free to contact us.
And here we go. So you can reach the Make the Grade office. As always, we're 215-540-TEST. Those in the area would know this is the Philadelphia area code. Those of you out there in the Make the Grade universe, we are based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. We're on the web at makethegrade.net. Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we are everywhere. Josh's email is on the screen here, jhesney19@gmail, and you can reach me at sgreene@makethegrade.net. So Josh, I want to thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to more work with you, and congratulations on your multiple recent successes, your degree, your job positions, all these things.
Thank you so much, Steve.
You're welcome. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you. And we look forward to seeing each and every one of you soon.